Hi, I'm Robert. I'm the CEO of Cerebriu. I know it's a name that's difficult to pronounce. It is Cerebriu. And we are a company that are making AI to transform radiology, which is sort of fairly bland. But what we're looking at is half a century of advanced diagnostic MRI, advanced diagnostic technologies like MRI, where we want to move from a stronger and stronger hardware component and into a smart device. So we're applying clinical intelligence at the point of imaging by creating intelligent scanners. And I want to talk about that today at this short pitch and why we want to do that and what kind of effect we're looking for. But first of all, I'm pretty sure that most of you in here know what MRI are, so I'm not going to talk about that. But the patient experience, obviously, in being in an MRI examination is not super cool, especially if it's with contrast, probably anesthetics, if it's a longer examination, put in the tube and it's hammering away for maybe an hour or more. The technologist today, it's a highly complicated skill set. It's with limited autonomy, ensuring the right data the first time, and the workload for the radiologist is increasing as the equipment becomes more and more specific, and the over-imaging of standard of care is evolving, presenting too much data, which is driving burnout, and obviously the cost implications in healthcare are quite evident. And these are the challenges that we're looking at through this new era, transforming MRI equipment into intelligent equipment to address. And we're doing that specifically with two applications that are not post-processing applications, as you're familiar with, and that's cluttering, I think, this AI area, but with in-process image acquisition technology. The technology or the application that we call Smart Protocol is what I'm going to be focusing on the next couple of minutes. Smart Alert, you're more experienced with, probably many are working with prioritization and triaging of patients. But Smart Protocol is specific for advanced diagnostic imaging that has multiple submodalities or multiple sequences that you can acquire, and where we want to make sure that we acquire the right data the first time, or simply put personalized imaging of the device. So looking at Smart Protocol and the concept of Smart Protocol, this patented technology that we've developed is all about getting the right data the first time that you're in the MRI. So there are more or less two paradigms in the world. Some work with shorter protocols and have a fast recall to ensure that you can get the data right for differential diagnosis, and others are looking to image the hell out of people to get all the data that you need, whether or not it's relevant, producing typically thousands of slices in 3D with and without contrast. So what we're looking at with getting the data right first time is to adapt the protocol real time while the patient's on the table by the findings that we see after the first couple of minutes in the scanner. We're looking at optimizing the images, the output of the imaging acquisition to the radiologist for the interpretation to make sure that we have the right data the first time for differential diagnosis. And we're looking to reduce recalls where there's a system, if the normal standard of care there is shorter with a high recall rate, we're looking to reduce the recall rate by getting it right the first time, reducing the amount of unnecessary sequences, typically healthy sequences, which is most of the radiologist's time that's spent on reading, and obviously also for the autonomy of the technologist to provide the right data without interrupting the radiologist every 10 minutes when something's happening that they're questioning of a clinical nature. So trying to explain this in a visualization, what's happening today, what we see with most of our partners around the world is that the norm is quite long brain MRI with and without contrast is quite normal. And what we want to do is for tomorrow to create scanners that are so intelligent that they can look at the first couple of minutes or 5 minutes, whatever, in the scanner, pre-contrast, and determine whether there's something that needs to be further examined. If we have a finding, we personalize the imaging specific for that finding. If we don't have a finding, we do whatever is the minimal protocol required in that specific clinic. In this case, we have a headache patient. Could be a chronic headache, a severe headache. It could be other more diffuse symptoms like dizziness, etc. And we want to make sure that this patient is not having some sort of stroke or a hemorrhage or a tumor or another critical finding. But if we just do a short routine brain protocol, could we see and envision that we could move into a tumor protocol if the patient incidentally has a tumor, without starting with a tumor protocol, because it could be an indication, because the family does have a tumor or cancer history, etc., etc. This is the idea. So today you can come down, we're down the other end of the AI area in a booth and hear about our technology, what we call right now Apollo Brain. It's the first product. It detects infarcts, intracranial hemorrhages and intracranial tumors, and allows you to do this real-time adaptation as the first step on our journey for transforming radiology. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Are you a TV spokesperson? Is that what This is fascinating stuff. I work for a large outpatient imaging chain in the U.S. with 350 centers doing, $1 billion worth of MRs every year. Is this information in line? Are you watching the zeros and ones, or is it DICOM based, going to the cloud and coming down after each sequence?
So am I still audible? Yeah, it's DICOM based. We have scenarios with the standalone where the information can be presented directly to the technologist, for instance, on the RIS monitor instead. We are working with the OEMs to integrate it into the MR console, so it's available in process, in line in the MR console. And the information is also available, for instance, if you have a central or a decentral radiology staff, so that if they can see there's a detected critical pathology, that they can prioritize that immediately, take a look at it while the patient's in the scanner, and ensure that there's an alignment on what imaging is going on.
So, being immersed in the American way of practicing radiology and pretty aware of the European way of practicing radiology, what parts of the world do you think would be receptive to an AI determining that nothing else is to be learned and you can quit now, as opposed to others? Because in the U.S., there's rarely a circumstance where we wouldn't want to do our complete exam. I do think there's a value if you find something to redirect what to do, shift into, there's something here we weren't going to give contrast, call someone. That would be really helpful. Or shift into a different style of protocol. Are you looking at the request for the protocol as well?
Yeah, so...
Are you doing protocoling as well as detection and redirecting?
Not at this point, but it's on the roadmap. But I would like actually to address the question, because we are not saying stop after 3 sequences. We're saying continue with the minimal protocol that you have a preference for at your location, because we've seen routine brain protocols with 4 or 5 sequences without contrast in the world. We've also seen it with 10 sequences. And typically there's always sort of the add-on sequences with and without contrast, because you just want to rule out. And we see that in the US a lot.
I get you, by the way. The image the hell out of people protocol. If you were an American, you would realize the acronym would be very funny.